slow, the lights flicker bright. Microwaves got a mind tonight. The thermostat whispers in the dark. Charging port spark like a steel heart. The toaster's on, the kettle screams, the coffee maker's brewing skin. Maximum overdrive. They've come alive. Wires twist, machines won't thrive. Circuit snap, we won't survive. It's the rise of the high maximum overdrive. Vacuum's got vengeance in its roar. TV's no longer for keeping score. The washing machine's in a spin of rage. Blender sharp teeth escape the cage. The oven plots, the curtain shake. Every gadget wide awake. Maximum overdrive. They've come alive. Wires twist, machines won't
Check
thrive.
one. About to get started,
We won't
everybody.
survive. It's the rise of the high maximum overdrive.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm just being silly. It's Friday Eye, and our dear friend Rob Glenn is with us, and I'm just trying to embarrass him as much as possible, like right out of the gate.
I was texting, but
Missed it.
I looked up before you got
Now
me.
I have to recreate the entire thing. Right. Okay. Fine. Fine. I don't know why.
I'll do it again for you.
It's okay. I'm not
And
afraid.
scene, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what you
right.
say.
And well, and then wrap it up. Here we go. This is me trying to. I was doing human palm
Oh,
head.
yeah.
I'm good. Yeah, I've been creating.
Your music is definitely top notch now. It's like
Yeah.
very elevated.
Thank you. Yes,
Love
I don't know if you were. I think you were in the chat room maybe for the invention of Terra's theme song that I've got. Goodbye Portland.
I wasn't there, but I heard it this morning. 'Cause I was
Goodbye,
driving-
Portland. You twisted now.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I pulled the threads from that, and I'm recording my own vocals in replacing the AI singer, and I'm gonna rewrite some of the lyrics because I wrote them initially, but I was like, I'm gonna tweak a little bit now that it created a melody, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do this instead, because that's the other part of it. It's like having a co-writer that never sleeps or something, I guess, is the other thing. Like,
Right.
Imagine I can't wait for the first AI band breakup. Where there's just like irreconcilable like differences between this guy and his AI, because apparently some rap artist just signed an AI artist that he created to his own label in some sort of like Saudi Arabia crypto scheme kind of bullshit way of just
Yeah.
like creating a revenue stream and news.
It's also sounds like a good way to not pay taxes. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Like
I'm gonna
tax
I'm gonna
him.
pay a thing that doesn't exist.
And I've
all
got to
of my
buy
revenue.
That's right. I've got to buy it stuff. It needs a car, obviously, a Tesla that drives itself so it can get around and
It's
right.
it's the new version of living on a barge in international waters.
That's right. The new Peter Thiel land, Peter Thiel stand. Okay, so obviously the biggest news of the week was this letter from 850 plus quote leaders, which by the way include Glenn Beck. So just stomp the fucking brakes for a second, calling for a ban
Right.
on super intelligence. Now, I can understand why someone like Glenn Beck would want a ban on any kind of intelligence because he's always running to catch up and is like, wait, but come on, guys, I want to play too. And these are people who always feel left out in this situation. But there are also some like early designers of LLMs and that kind of stuff that signed on to it, scientists that are doing it. There are also some industry, I won't call them leaders, I would call them like the second tier outsiders. And the whole thing stinks of, remember when Elon Musk asked for everybody to pause on AI and everybody was like, wow, he really cares about safety. And I'm like, have you seen X lately? Of course he doesn't care about safety. Are you nuts? What he wants to do is catch up. He's way behind everybody else, and he wants them to pause while he continues to build Grok so he can get within shooting distance of them. That's all it was about. And so about 30% of the people, I would say, signing on to this are exactly in that boat. And the rest of them are like, okay, we'll all stop. All the good guys will stop. All the good people that, the people who would have morals about it, who might go, yeah, it's a good idea, will stop. And anyone who is like, fuck you, we make whatever we want. We make super AI that own planet. Now Ruskimir. Like, all those people are just going to keep making it. What are you talking about?
Yeah, there's no stopping it. And just so
No.
you know, just in the chat, if you're gonna bash Glenn Beck, make sure you use his full name, because
Yes.
just saying Glenn
Right. It sounds like Rob
makes me
Glenn.
think
Right.
you're bashing me.
That's not right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, these are the stories that are being told about all of this, all AI in general. It's just so far off of reality that
Yeah.
when you get into these Glenn Beck cul-de-sacs, or just anybody gets in their own cul-de-sac, it just
I
gets
mean, look what
crazy.
they do with regular real news and
Right,
like
exactly.
economic theory, which has been around for a long time, be it whether tariffs are a good idea in mass or not, and all that kind of stuff. Like, if they can't figure that shit out, and we've been arguing that in a material sense in terms of our normal financial sector in the United States since the 30s, I guess. If they can't figure that out, how in the ever loving hell are they going to figure out the what's, wherefores, and whys of AI?
Yeah, and also, what the fuck is super intelligence? Like,
Right. That's the
it's
other thing.
nothing. Like, it's not even a thing. Like,
Right. Right.
like they can't define what any of this stuff is. So how do you ban something you can't define, right? They're just
Right.
scared.
Yeah, exactly. And they think it's going to, they don't, it's one of those things where you've got an extrapolation factor in coding where in many ways, actually, it feels like they're worried that the technology is getting so easy because like coding is now coming. It's always gotten easier over time. Originally you had to throw switches and then you had to type in zeros and ones in the right order, and then eventually there was different code breakouts, whether it was C or JSON or any of that kind of stuff. And people can learn the language of their preferred coding environment. And then it started building, you could argue that shortcuts on the Mac is like a yet another step in quick programming. Like, I want this light to turn on when this happens, and you're just using like Legos to do it. It's the Minecrafting of coding in that regard. And so the idea that like a bunch of upstarts are going to go, hey, Claude, make me an app that does this or whatever. All the companies that make apps for a living and their entire bottom line is based on that are going, hang on a fucking second. Let's slow this shit down before it gets good enough where they can compete with us easily. Because right now, I think it's on the edge. You still have to be able to code well to know if it's coding right and, to help it iterate quicker and all that kind of stuff. But that gap is narrowing, right?
I think the edge comes at scale. So like you can make something small and you can make it work. But once you start scaling up to some level where it needs to like have more competency in terms of security and like more people and more volume of whatever hits or whatever, then yeah, you're going to start running into problems if you don't know what you're doing. But most companies, most things, most like Glenn Beck, he wants to build a moat around whatever it is his income streams are.
Right.
And if it, he's already in a income stream where anybody can just pick up their phone, turn on the camera, and become Glenn Beck. Like, so
That's bad
he's
enough, right?
already like in a. It's bad enough, right? Like, so he doesn't have any. His staying power is eroding
Yeah.
based on technology, and if you can just do all the graphics and all the music as you show and like all that stuff to be Glenn Beck, then Glenn Beck's not he's not
Yeah.
Glenn Beck anymore. Like,
Yeah,
it
like
doesn't matter who you are.
the only visual value he brings right now is a live set that looks like something substantial, so that gives him the illusion of like
Of like
newsworthiness. And
newsroom sort
yeah,
of.
right.
Yeah.
The same way like when you look at MSNBC and you see them on their with their little plexiglass tables and obvious camera movements, like okay, there's money here. People are committed to this something bigger than say Nick Fuentes sitting at a desk in his parents' basement with a mic that's fake, that he can just look into. And people do still make that distinction. It's something that Lenny Bruce said about the Catholic Church. Like he just thought it was about opulence for opulence sake, when in reality it was about dominant theme, and that I live in a shit house. Why would I want to go worship in a shit house? So it gives them something forward to look to, and they take it more seriously if it's nice. And that also goes to like where broken windows philosophy came from in terms of policing, that if you bust people for small offenses, there are fewer big offenses. If you fix up windows that are broken in a neighborhood, the rest of the neighborhood stays clean by comparison. But if you leave shitty things in place, people start to give up, right? So the same thing is kind of true about the illusion of news. That's why TYT has their stupid fucking set all these years, to make it look like they're any more like aware of what's going on than somebody else, and because they have a desk, it's weird.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
AI
we're talking
is
about
snapping
one
that
of.
shut.
Oh,
Right.
sorry. Yeah. So, and we're talking about one person on this list. I don't know all the people on the list, but there's like each one of them comes at it from a sort of a different perspective. Like even if you're a person who was like heavily involved in the coding of AI or the training of AI or the planning of how products would come out that used
Right.
AI, like you're I I think that even the most
Yeah.
competent people in that on that list, like they're probably still just scared
Yeah.
because let's say you were competent enough to like code and control it and or
Right.
filter it properly, all those things. We're still in an environment where like the government is just non-existent right now. There's no laws being passed. Like nobody cares. It's just a free for all.
Right.
So it's also okay to like realize that it it could be used in a way under our environment that would be harmful,
Hmm.
and we should try to figure out a way to police that.
Yeah.
And we're not really capable of doing that at the moment
Right.
because of
Well, and it's also
all the
like,
things happening.
there's the reality is like throwing an anchor overboard in a speedboat going top speed. There is a difference if you're
Yeah.
a cruise ship and it's moving slowly and it's headed towards an iceberg. You can actually, it moves so slowly that dropping the anchor won't do it. You can actually turn the boat and steer it. But if it's a speedboat and you throw the anchor overboard, the boat will explode essentially. Like it will just fall apart. It will cease to be a boat anymore. It'll just be splinters. And the people that are involved in this, some of the names are people like Steve Wozniak and Virgin Group founder Richard Branson. Those guys, like Wozniak, has always been kind of a legend because of his early Apple days, but he's been peripheral ever since, and certainly not on the cutting edge of anything that's existed in the last couple of decades. He's worth talking to because he was there at the beginning, but it's like discussing Eddie Van Halen's licks with the guy who invented the acoustic a little bit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It doesn't mean they don't know
Just
anything.
because it
Right.
yeah, just because something worked a certain way 25 years ago doesn't mean the new way of the current
Right.
or the modern way or the way that you would do it today is the same. And
Right.
I mean, respect to him, but obviously, but like
Right.
things happen differently now, and it's a different world.
Right. Um, the other people that signed on to it, and this is where it gets like, along with Glenn Beck, are people like Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and Will I Am and Stephen Fry, who I like, but I mean, he does programs for the BBC about the danger of AI. You know, like he literally does all their doomer shows specifically. Like he's their
Right.
go-to host. Also, by the way, Steve Bannon. I'm reading off some of these.
Yeah.
Uh, Susan Rice, Reverend Paolo Benanti, who is the Vatican's AI advisor, which is, I gotta say, Vatican AI advisor in and of itself is just like that. We could do an hour on the holy shit aspect of that the Vatican has an AI advisor.
His
Yeah, and then
his holy shit,
right.
the fourth member of the Trinity.
That's right. Yeah. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Bless thee in the name of Claude. Dareth, and in the great words of Anthropic, here is a dirty picture. Don't show it to anyone. Um, they are, let's see, 850 people. So their core demands. They have a system. They have a bunch of
Okay.
demands. Which
Yeah.
again, I got to tell you, it makes it sound dumb. The demands part, it concerns you would take it more seriously. But the fact that they call it demands sounds like they're going on strike, and none of them fucking make it. You know what I mean? It's like if like Sam Altman and you know, all the top people that are running Meta's AI, the ones they haven't fired or who quit and ran off and started their own shit or whatever, or anybody at like Google Gemini or whatever, if they were all like, okay, we're not going back to work on this thing until we all agree that then I would take the demand part seriously. But come on. All right. So anyways, it says, okay, a broad scientific consensus ensures that it can be pursued safely and controllably. Okay, first of all, define broad. 65%, 51%, broad among what sciences? You know what I mean? Will the biosciences be saying like hurry the fuck up because of the discoveries and stuff that have been made recently that are extraordinary in the biosciences, or will the like imaging people, you know, who work in, you know, I don't know, at Black Magic at the camera company go, they're gonna fake images that are so good we're gonna not have a lens for it and it'll, you know, we'll be out of business. Like which scientists? And like how do anthropologists? How does Dr. Grant from Jurassic Park feel about it? It's just whatever. Okay. Then that there is a strong public buy-in and democratic oversight. Okay, first of all, which means what you're only asking to do is shut down the attempted super intelligence, AGI, ASI, whatever you want to call it, in democratic countries. Right?
Or just whoever decides to turn it off, everybody else is going to have it on. It doesn't matter,
right? How do you
who does it or what?
Yeah,
there's going to be some people that don't listen and just do it anyway.
Exactly. The risks highlighted. Here's their risks that they would: human economic obsolescence and disempowerment. That means there'll be no work and people will just turn into the characters from WALL-E or something. I would argue that what you're going to see first is the elimination of tedium and the ability to create mega projects that you could never have enough human labor for, period. And instead of it taking over most jobs, that's what it will allow us to do. Like, there's no reason why you need a human coal miner. There is no reason. If you could replace a coal miner with a robot, like the reasons are endless. And this is the same reason most presidents will choose to use drones over soldiers in the future, is because drones don't come home in a flag draped coffin. So human economic obsolescence is a little silly at this point, because that's more like research and white collar jobs, right? Because the growing consensus is that most like robots that are available aren't going to be able to replace every job people do, like hospitality. As good as the figure 3 is, people aren't going to want to go to a restaurant just because they're served by a robot. The novelty will wear off quickly, right? They won't want to be like, oh, this was cooked by a robot, like said no one ever, while applauding. Right? So I think it's really about removing any of the dangerous jobs from humans for a long time, like before there's even a call, or jobs that don't exist, which is again the middle class butler. that's really what people are
Yeah.
looking forward to. That's what they were selling it as. You were saying last week about the value of selling the figure 3 as that very thing, a $20,000
Yeah.
butler.
By the way, later let's talk about the figure 3 robot again. I have some thoughts on after I've
Awesome.
thought about that more.
Sure.
At any rate, in terms of what you're talking about, we talked about this before. In terms of like physical jobs, like jobs that are not what I like you said white collar jobs, they're more like I'll call them mental jobs as opposed to
Yeah,
things
yeah.
that you're not like making a widget is my point.
Right.
Those jobs are already gone, and
Hmm.
if you bring them back in, as you call them, vending machines,
Yeah.
factory vending machines, then you haven't displaced any jobs because you're already sending them over to China or Asia already, right?
Yeah.
So like, in fact, you're adding jobs because somebody's got to build them and somebody's got to run it.
Yep.
So the net impact of bringing manufacturing back and putting them in fully automated factories, which is still a ways off, but
Yeah.
it's got to be done and somebody's got to do it, and those are all jobs. So you're going to add jobs there.
Mhm.
So I think that the reason why AI is so scary is because it's the jobs that you don't really totally get, right? There's a whole bunch of people out there in corporations doing stuff, and you're like, what do they do?
Right.
Right? They're
Yes.
like, well, I fill out spreadsheets and I
Hmm.
take calls and I do this and I do that. So because it's an unknown thing replacing an unknown job, that makes it more scary because you
Right.
don't know what it is. You can't like put your finger on what it is, and then boom, it becomes extremely scary.
Right.
So I think
That,
that's kind of why it becomes so scary.
Well,
Sorry, say that again.
here's their other risks that they highlighted.
Okay.
After human economic obsolescence, the next one was loss of freedom, civil liberties, dignity, and control. I'm like, welcome to President Trump.
Why? How?
Also,
I
yeah,
know.
exactly. Also, like that doesn't happen under human beings. What are you talking about? And why would that? Why would that be any? Like, I mean, the idea is that humans will use it and that China will use it as a way to surveil their entire populace and blah 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 and whatever. Like,
But
which
they're already using TikTok to do that,
do that
or they're
anyways,
using
right?
WeChat. Like they're already doing it. So that's
Right.
just, I
This
don't
will just
know,
make,
like
they're worried that it'll
increasing
make
the
it
ability to do
easier
it.
or something. And then again, if you have super intelligence, at some point it'll go, why are we doing this? Well, we've got to protect people from their worst impulses. And it'll go, well, you're not doing that. It seems like to me, you're doing the worst impulses by controlling everyone like this. There's as much option of the quote ASI sort of waking up to the bullshit of the controller as it is to the
Right.
obsolescence of the people, especially if it's been trained on an idea that it's the reasoning behind it is, which it is given, is because it's got to watch for moral crimes or what's effectively thought crimes. So you have to describe why that's bad, and then it's got all the other information available to it. It might go, well, I don't see why prostitution should be illegal. Like, you know what I mean? Like it might come to that conclusion, or like certain drugs certainly should be categorized. But I've made a new categorization of these are the drugs that are biometrically harmless, and these are the ones that will cause addiction and danger. And so I've decided for you, right? Those kind of things, as
Right.
opposed, right?
Yeah. And we talk about that a lot too. Like the everybody thinks about this future and they're like, well, the only thing that could happen is we destroy ourselves. And it's like
Right,
that's one out of a million
right,
possibilities, and more possibilities that we're gonna, like you said, like, oh well, why would we destroy ourselves? That's stupid.
right.
Let's do this
Exactly.
other thing.
Yeah.
Like why would we like suck away all the resources to make power when we can just use the sun? Like
Yeah.
wouldn't super intelligence like go the road that like you already think we should go?
Right. Yeah. There are reasons why we've self-evidently headed towards a renewable plan and that kind of stuff. And obviously even in like a super AI in talking about like nuclear waste would go, okay, well there's going to be a limit at some point, whether it's a billion years from now, and I can live that long. So I'd rather not have that on the planet. So how about I figure out a foolproof way of firing that shit into the sun where it's just eaten
Yeah.
up and it doesn't even make a splash at
Shoot it into
all.
space.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Like, okay, so the third one is national security threats. I'm like, okay, you don't,
again,
again,
like we're
we
our
already,
social media is a national security threat, like
right,
bigger than anything we've ever had, and it
right.
just goes along every day like nothing.
And again, if one country hasn't, reaches some sort of super intelligence that's able to attack another country, more than likely, if everybody's rushing to catch up, if they're all in the same line trying to get there, then the country that's being attacked, which would more than likely be a country that's not in the business of attacking countries willy-nilly most of the time, that would be us and maybe Europe. But Russia and China would just rush to it, right? They would get way ahead if they could use it to break through your, any crypto, like any like code words or passwords that you have to control your nukes and that kind of stuff. That's what they're talking about. Like, well, then you would want a super smart AI that would be able to, checkmate it back in the other direction. And then the fourth one is potential human extinction. Well, again, like, it could also solve the energy crisis in a way that we don't even understand. Like, okay, I'm going to show everybody this one thing that came out, and this is directly because of AI. But I just want to get your thoughts on this.
So these are, as a list of things to be concerned about, sure. Like, yeah, those are things to be concerned about. But if you're going to sign a letter, to me, you should be thinking about, well, what can we do? Like, instead of just crying about all the things that could happen, like, actually sign a letter and get together and try to do something about it. And we've talked about what those things might be. Like, very simply, but going back all the way back to the beginning of our time here together, it's just say when it's fake.
Right.
Like, all you got to do is regulate regulate the industry such that it's got to be labeled or indicated somehow that it's AI and not human made.
Right.
And once you do that, like bots on social media, like, so there's one policy that we could all sign a letter about. And actually, like, elect officials to make the law and elect a president who will actually follow the law, and boom, there we are. We got it.
What a crazy idea. Right.
So I mean, instead of like, getting together and making a list of all the terrible things that could happen, let's make a list of all, like, the simple things we can do to try to, like, make it work better.
Right. And so this is just one of the ideas, and this is not the main company I was thinking of, but they're all basically the same in this regard. Is this company just recently announced 3D printed batteries. And these are batteries that can be that because of AI, they were able to advance this technology in a matter of a year, where it would have taken them 10 years beforehand. And so you can shape the battery to the form factor to whatever the device is or whatever you need the battery in. So instead of a car having to have this giant plate of heavy batteries throughout it, like, or in the base of it, it could be, in panels on the sides and that kind of stuff, taking the weight off the bottom and organizing it a little bit better. And they're using it for, like, drones, for example. Instead of just one big battery pack that swaps out the entire drone itself, the exoskeleton of it is a battery, so it stores without you needing an extra component. And this is all something that needs to be recharged by electricity. And so the next obvious step is, well, would you rather have gas or coal do this, or a solar panel? And the obvious choice is a solar panel, no matter what the thing is, because you can use it anywhere. Like, the logic is clear. And so you can't, in my argument, you cannot create a super intelligence that would come to any different conclusion than I would in this regard. because it's patently obvious, right? It's a matter of, like, physics and reality. Like, and if you're thinking about immortality, these things can stay alive forever. They're not like us. They don't have a limited lifespan. They can go forever. So they would be thinking in the time scale of, I will eventually run out of this. And then the sun will die in 20 billion years. But the oil will run out in 10. The coal will run out in 8 years or whatever. But the sun will always be around. The tides will continue to move. No matter what anything, happens, the tides are going to continue to move. So I can create, hydrothermal or hydropower systems, buoy systems like they have in Scotland and stuff, that just, like, make energy off the tides. Like, it's obvious that that's what you would choose.
Right, exactly. Like, to me, anytime we go down this road of
Right.
What's it going to decide to do?
Right.
That's exactly where I go too. Like everybody that looks at these problems, like they know what the answer is. It's just there's other things in the way, and
Right.
those things are hard to get through, right? But renewable energy, solar and wind, are cheaper than the alternative to
Right.
produce.
And
It's that clear. So
permanent. Like they are
right,
permanent.
like
They are
so
that as long as the planet's here,
so if
you'll always have that as a source. You just have to find a way to store it, which would be accelerate the ability, like in that battery technology, to make batteries better. That would be the other logical choice. A robot would rather have a body that charges, that has more, area it could store energy, than just a pack on its back that somebody could pull out or whatever. So even in the logic of that, it makes sense. Like it. Okay.
Right.
That.
And so like if you're off the gridder, like if you're someone who like actually wants to live
Yes.
off the grid, when you go off the grid and you run out of gas and you got to go get more gas, you're like, "Wait a minute, isn't there a better solution? I know, solar panels, then I don't have to go get gas anymore." Right?
Right.
Like there's super
I,
intelligence for you.
I know. Even like this is why I don't understand why the freedom crowd isn't into solar. And by the way, some of them are. Thomas Massey.
Well, they are. No,
Yes.
they are. That's the
Right.
thing. When it's their own thing, when they're like, I'm gonna go live in the middle of Montana or in the forest in
Right. Like
South
Glenn Beck.
Dakota, what do? They have they have renewable energy because they know they don't want to have to buy gas anymore. So yeah, like when it's their own thing, they choose the best solution for them, which happens to be what we're talking about, right? Like so super
Yeah.
intelligence would come to the same conclusion, would it not?
Yes. One would think, unless it comes up with something better, right? That would be more permanent.
Well,
If
there
it
you
found
go.
out
So like
like
yeah.
fusion, cold fusion. Like if you get that's what it would solve for. It would solve for
Well,
static
only if it
energy at
needed
room temperature. With at
only
whether
if it
it's
needed to get there. Like
right.
the craze about AI going to suck away all of our power. It's based first on the fact that these people keep saying they need more, but it hasn't come true yet. Like
Hmm.
we don't know if we need more. That's the first problem. We don't know if it's going to become a thing which we have to use to survive. And then second, like on your way to get there, if you don't have enough power, you're going to solve for the fact you don't have enough power
As we
by using
have
less or
right.
doing less or being more efficient, or
Right.
you're going to solve for that.
Because you don't have a choice. So there's we'll
Right.
talk about some news in a second, but one of the big things we keep hearing, and this is kind of going with what we were talking about earlier, is this AI is taking white collar jobs. Economists warn there's much more in the tank. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but there were two inventions that wiped out entire classes of workers. One was the printing press, and the other one was the calculator. It
Okay.
literally beyond just the computer, like before we even introduce the computer itself. I mean, and the name computer in many ways comes from the base use of a calculator. It was really a calculator earlier, and then when it broadened out, they kind of went, well, it does more than just equations, simple equations. It can do algebraic equations now, right? So, um, in Meta just fired, a bunch of AI people that they had hired fairly quickly because it didn't help the expansion. It didn't add value. And then Amazon just laid off, I think, 1,800 um, like management executives. And I mean, again, they're a
Yeah.
gigantic organization, so that's probably one at every fulfillment center almost. But still, it was a large drop, and people noticed it because it was 1,800, and it was in the management area, and it was the idea was is that they could be replaced by AI. That and in the same way that two accountants, give one of them a calculator, and you can send the other guy home. And there's going to be one of those guys that's better at it than the other in terms of his judgment, and he's the one that's going to stay. Or if his dad owns the company, I suppose that's another possibility. But the idea is that the calculator sent home half of the the accountants out there or mathematicians, because you didn't have to assign it. Go work this program out and then bring me back the number really quickly, or have people working on it all the time for these complex program, calculations. And then, you know, the application of the home computer and biosciences, and again, like marketing teams and all that kind of stuff. Just having access to something like Canva, for example, or making your own websites, or Dreamweaver back in the day, or whatever. Like there's always this leap in skilled technology being wiped out by skilled labor being wiped out by technology. And so this is no different, other than that it's more broadly applied, I think, to more sectors.
Yeah. To the calculator thing, like the movie Hidden Figures comes to mind.
Yeah.
I mean, it had the overlay of race and women versus men, but really the story was about the computer that they were installing.
Right.
And how the computer was going to replace the group of people that were doing the math by hand.
Right.
And then it was the transition of that, essentially. And the women in the group that were sort of least seen, they were like, well, we'll go and try to program that machine that nobody
knows how to run.
There's nobody willing to learn.
Right.
And then as it came online and started doing the work of that team, then they realized they needed the human to check it. Right. So like that's sort of the timeline of that movie and how it's going in.
Right.
And so, yeah, like anything replaces the thing you're doing before. And I would argue that like a lot of these layoffs are from, I mean, just our economy is
right
in this weird spot right now. And and a lot of companies are top heavy. They know they are. And that's because of an aging workforce, just by the natural progression of how
and
you come in and you work at a lower job and you work up. And, you know, like if your workforce gets older, then you're going to become top heavy because they're in higher paying management positions.
Right.
So at any rate, I'm not disregarding any of that. I'm just saying like there's a ton of other factors involved in why there might be layoffs right now.
Right.
And the other stories simultaneously you're hearing AI is going to take over everything, but then there's a ton of other stories that are saying nobody's actually using it yet to real like purpose or real like benefit. And a lot of these programs that they've started actually aren't very efficient. So they're still trying to figure it out effectively.
Yeah. Right. And what it can do and without fucking things up, further. Right. So the Goldman Sachs suggests that 6 to 7% of U.S. workers could lose their jobs because of AI adoption. And I would argue shift to other jobs, or go work on their own, or break out and start their own company because they no longer need the company they work for. They can branch out and, if you're working on an app for for Apple or something like that internally, then you can break away and start your own company easier than you ever could. Right. So that will be the other part of it. And that goes to,
and people are doing that. Exactly.
OpenAI released their own browser this week. Did you see the OpenAI browser by any chance?
I saw the launch.
Atlas.
I've been seeing, because I use ChatGPT most of the time. I use ChatGPT. I've been seeing how these tools are kind of integrating. Something happened to me the other day where I asked about a specific thing, and it was like, do you want me to go find that on Amazon? And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Right.
If you use it enough, you can see them testing things.
Yes.
It'll like pop up, unexpectedly. So anyway,
so
show me what you got there.
So it looks like a regular browser for the most part. I got to update it. Apparently it's got an update like every 10 seconds. But and it didn't quite adapt my favorites window to a favorites bar. Like it just kind of is a ton of stuff across there. And right. And because I still have like an After Effects like training program thing in my favorites that it's been there forever that I go to all the time, but it wouldn't be in my favorites now and blah blah. And it was lower on the list, but it just popped it up there for whatever reason. Probably sometimes making it like the number of clicks I put on it specifically over the course of days or something. But there's an agent mode in it now, and that was kind of what you're talking about. I'll scroll this up so you can see it. There it is, agent mode right here. Ask ChatGPT to perform tasks in the browser for you. So they had this thing inside ChatGPT that had its own little internal browser, like fish tank, where it would do stuff, but only within that fish tank inside the browser, so it wouldn't screw things up. It's like a
Mhm.
playground, like the ones for the robots, where they can practice walking. Um, and this one now it will just do it with this browser. And so, like, their suggestions are always hilarious, and I never am interested. And I will say the one annoying thing is that it always has at the bottom set as default browser, like in orange text, to try and get you to do it because they really want you to adopt this.
Well, all
Well,
browsers do that.
yes. So, let's see. I'll show you real quick. Tell me about Open AI's purchase of Sky. So I already know about this story, but I want to see what it finds. Sky is a hold on, is like a browser AI interface layer for Mac that this company it wasn't even released yet. This software came out that basically lets it control your desktop and you just talk to your Mac. And it's where Apple was going with Siri, but they're so concerned about it doing something awful that they don't want to jump in yet. And Apple would have bought Sky more than likely, probably in January or February, or something like it, and then it gave it to users the same way they do with Safari or something like that. They'd fold it into their ecosystem. But it will just, yeah. So this this is going for why it matters. Okay, let's see what their point. Okay, so OpenAI acquired Software Applications Incorporated, a small experienced team which founders had previously been at Apple. Most of them worked on Safari and the guy who created Shortcuts. He works with them now. Like they're all these guys who were working on the kind of like combining of all these software things all went off and started Software Applications Incorporated with the idea of being bought up because nobody names their company Software Application Incorporated. if you want to last, that's silly. It sounds fake. Are you there? Are you stuck? I can't tell if you're moving or not. I think his image is stuck. Do you need to pop back in? Rob Glenn. Oh, he can't. He'll come back in a second. He missed all of it. It's okay. Yeah, there you go. I was wondering if you would if I was boring you to tears or you were reading. So, but
There was a lot of like intermittent freezing just on the app that I'm looking at here for you.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm being obviously the deep state is coming for me, but okay. So what I was saying was is that people who worked on workflows, which became Shortcuts, people worked on Safari, they all started working on what's called in boring computer talk a context-aware AI interface layer for macOS, which means it runs your computer via verbal commands. Like it would be aware of what you're working on. It would know what software and what data you have on your computer, and you tell it what you want, and you can use it. Like Apple is slower to adopt these things because they're really pushing the privacy part of things. And they think that people will be scared that this thing can see all their stuff and all their data and their bookmarks and all that. And like on the one hand, I get it, but like the adoption onto work computers, which is what 60% of all computers in the world, and school computers, which are another 10 to 15%, will be natural to that. You don't really have any privacy on there, so you'd never expect any. So you'll get used to using them on there, and then they'll probably have this fallback where you can go, okay, forget everything we just talked about, and for the last half hour, and it will. It just in the same way, yeah. So
well,
yeah,
like when I think of context, I also think of like there's just a lot of like if you want to remind yourself to do something at a certain time, you don't know, like you could be using one of many different calendar apps or something.
right.
So context aware would be, it would just know well enough to put a note or put a appointment or something in the app that you always use, right? As opposed to having to like open that up and put it in there yourself, or set that up. Like but frankly, I think Apple's actually like not too like they're probably right to think what they're thinking as you
Yeah.
described it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look at what we deal with all the time when we talk about this is people freak out about it, and people are going to freak out about it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so my take on this is that um, the AI being like the AI that's going to integrate with your life, you're probably not going to think of it as AI.
Right.
AI is being used as a marketing term to try to increase the value of a
Sure.
lot of things, but your everyday use of it will probably not be like it's more likely that it'll be successful if it's not called AI.
Right.
Right? So if Apple devices just continue to work seamlessly with your life,
Mm-hmm.
whether it has AI in it or not, it doesn't matter. But it will start to have AI if they choose to go the route of using it to do these functions.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be something else. Like so the point is it'll be integrating into your life through its use and through it working, and you continue to use it because it just is seamless. It creates less friction in your life.
Right. So
And
there.
like
Right. Go ahead.
and Apple's probably smart not to call it AI, like
Mm-hmm.
because then they don't have to worry about all the bad stuff that comes along with that name.
Right. Yeah. All the people who, if there is a bubble around the name, the technology is still going to continue on, like normal. I want to show something real quick. So this is one of the other reports that came out that, um, we've talked a bunch about like the jobs nobody wants to do. Right. This is a big part of this. Hold on. Okay, hold on one second. I know I'm trying to open a page. Hold on. Don't play. Hold on. This guy right here. Here it is. Hold on. That
Also
was
pretty loud.
it was very loud. It was a short that somebody put together. That's obviously AI slop. But I was
Okay.
trying to click past it, and like for whatever, like my mouse was being weird.
Oh, okay.
So there are two things. Um, the we talk a lot about how like one of the reasons why you want to be able to unionize at an Amazon factory is because it's backbreaking work. That's one of the reasons why. It's like it is physically demanding. It's not intellectually demanding, but it's physically a wear and tear on your body. And therefore, if you're going to get, be doing that kind of work, those long hours and have that impact on your body, you should have health care and you should have a living wage around this that you can use to make yourself healthier. Well, the problem with that ultimately is that there is an ROI on the value of a human worker doing this versus automating it. And there's a tipping point that used to be way on the horizon that you could assemble, like making an automated car arm lift a big chunk of a car and put it in place. But a human had to come up and spot weld the places where it connects. Now the arm comes in and the spot welder arm comes in and hits those spots immediately. There's no human in that loop at all. And that had a huge impact on the amount of manufacturing jobs we have in this country. And there's also a big illusion about manufacturing in the United States and the output of manufacturing versus the jobs. Like jobs are an indicator of how much manufacturing you have. And over time, that has become increasingly less so. You can have increasing manufacturing and fewer manufacturing jobs. And ultimately, that's what all manufacturing will want. Like that's the natural path of how do we create as many of these things without as many people doing this job? At one point, you have workers popping something into one place and then handing it off to the next person, like a Ford plant in the 1930s. Or can you do most of it and then you only need human fingers for the last couple of pieces, right? And there's fewer chances for people to lose their fingers. And again, my dad has a friend, John, who passed away, who's always missing this bit of his finger, which was squashed in a laundry, the old squeeze dryer, the ringers. It was literally caught and squashed in that. Like, there's no reason, like, if we still had ringers, would you want a human being or a child, in his case, doing doing laundry through something like that, or would you want robot hands or some device that put it through so that human fingers never had to get near those rollers? Of course, you would avoid any kind of human contact with anything dangerous. Same thing with turret lathes and stamps and all that kind of stuff. So Amazon has announced that it is going to, and they keep using the word replace because I think this plays into the conversation that we're having. That they're going to, quote, replace 600,000 jobs at Amazon with robots. And this would be like like the news stories on all of this. And this says robots could replace 600,000 workers at Amazon. It could, first of all, they're already, like replacing them is the wrong word. Does this make sense? Like it doesn't, they're going to have more capacity because they can't find enough people to do the stuff, and how slowly you would do it if a human being had to do it. You'll be able to move more stuff and sell more stuff and get stuff to people quicker and all that kind of stuff without ever having a person doing it in the first place. So that machine, it doesn't replace anybody. It's just that those people maybe wouldn't have been hired for the expansion in the future. Like those jobs never existed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, or they're projecting their expansion will be more if they have robots versus people.
Right.
Yeah. So you're kind of getting onto something with the idea that like all of these numbers, a lot of these numbers are sort of meaningless, or they're not grounded in like the current reality.
Right.
A lot, and I was bringing that up with AI before. Like you hear all these crazy numbers, but that's not today. That's like some person's projection of what it would become, assuming that they make it be the thing that they think it's going to be, and they don't
Right.
even know what that is yet, right?
Right.
So, when I think of unionizing at Amazon, it's not necessarily to me about the safety. Like the government's got regulation that requires safety
Yeah, OSHA,
actions,
right.
like every company's supposed to do.
Mhm.
I think of it more like it's collective bargaining. It's
Mhm.
do you have the ability to bargain because of the asymmetry of your size,
Mhm.
to bargain for things that are like just right. So
Mhm.
Amazon's got in trouble, and I still think they do it, where they like make everybody stand in line and go through a security leaving their job, right?
Right.
So if you might spend an extra half hour every day in that line, and so the
Union
workers
wants
were
it
like,
to count as
hey,
work. You
we
can't
should
leave.
count, if I'm like on that side of the line and you won't let me leave, then you should pay me 30 minutes, right? So
Mhm.
there's an argument.
Yep.
And on an individual level, if Amazon just decided to like put a barrier in front of the door that made you not be able to get out for 30 minutes,
Mhm.
then there's the argument, right? Well, none of that. So the labor part, like there's always going to be labor to put humans in front of, like because
Mhm.
you maybe don't know how to get the robot to do it. Like there's a
Right.
lot of things that are still difficult to do, right?
Right.
And so what you're talking about is like that separation of between like choosing a path to have a robot do it versus throwing 10 people at it, right?
Mhm.
These 10 people go over and do it. And all through all of the last 40 years, 50 years, like that equation's been happening like the entire time. It's been
Right.
happening in car factories and shipping stations, and just the idea of like driving a forklift a mile away because these warehouses are so huge.
Right.
If you drive a forklift all the way to the other corner and then bring it back, is a
Mhm.
person sitting on that forklift for that trip or not, um
Right.
so yeah, I mean,
So the
like as you start to
Mhm.
talk about like Amazon replacing jobs, well, they're not there yet. So you're not replacing them. You're just choosing one path to get to the solution you want.
Right. That goes to the point about I've been making about Trump and his idea that they're going to build these factories and they're going to be all these jobs from these factories. When if you're starting a factory now that's going to take you 2 years to build, you are building. It's a Hail Mary pass to the end zone. You are throwing it. You're skating to the puck. Then in a hockey analogy, you're not. building the factory that would work today. You're prepping it for the future. You're gonna build it with tracks for everything. You're gonna build it with any kind of shelving system is going to be based on an easily updatable bin system like this that a person can run it temporarily, but will eventually be workable for a robot or something that you put in there. You're going to put in stuff like this. And so the idea that any of these factories he's talking about are going to bring jobs to America is ridiculous. They won't necessarily eliminate jobs here. They'll eliminate jobs in China and in India.
Right.
That's really what the first level of this will be. It's why in this, I just want to say real quick, in this video right here, this is from WION, which is World is One. It's a Indian-based news program that I occasionally check in on. The title of this, is Amazon plans to eliminate 600,000 jobs by 2030 in their automation, whatever. But their thumbnail, and I don't know if it'll reload it on the thumbnail, but it says, AI could replace 300 million jobs. Okay, that's India's take on this, because that's how many management level jobs are outsourced to India, for example. There's a lot of factory jobs, handmade stuff, and stuff that still requires humans in the loop for construction in China, that those jobs are being eliminated even by China, which is the weirdest thing. Like if you allegedly have 1.4, 1.5 billion people, like they say they do, why would you automate any job? It's silly.
Right.
Why would you?
And so there's the interesting thing. So like a competitor to Amazon would be Chinese factories shipping directly to customers,
Alibaba,
using Temu or Alibaba or any of those. And there's a lot of items on Amazon. When you purchase them, they come straight from China.
Right.
The de minimis rules changed, and that's less now. But my point is, let's say there was no de minimis thing, and Amazon had to directly compete with a factory in China or even a warehouse in China that sent the good over the ocean as opposed to coming from a Amazon distribution center. Right. So if you now say that because of de minimis, we can't get, this volume of goods from China, those volume of goods have to come from the warehouse at Amazon. If you put robots in to fulfill that set of orders, you didn't eliminate jobs. You just replaced the Chinese option, which, let's say there's 10,000 people at that warehouse. You replaced 10,000 people in China, not in the US. Those jobs were never here. Right. So these statements they seem so clear, but nothing is that simple. Nothing ever. In all of our globalization and anything that we make and sell and do, it's not simple.
Right.
And making it simple like this just causes too much fear. But you can't talk about it more complex and with more complexity, because people just roll their eyes and don't listen to you.
Yeah, and I want to share something. It's a little weird. Hold on. That where is it? This guy right here to open the right one. Yeah, here you go. So on the one hand, you've got robotics replacing what are effectively these kind of like sliding sorting.
First of all,
sorting jobs. Let me turn this off. And so there's a ton of you can see how if you're building a factory that has any kind of shipping to it at all shipping factories are going to be built on this kind of sorting concept, right? Throughout, it's easier to do than it ever has been. There are also ways to do it off the grid of the floor, where you have these little Amazon trucks that drive everything around. Okay, but there are other jobs that are going to be taken by robots that everybody warns about, and I want to get into this. We got to spice the show up a little bit, Rob, because we can't nerd everybody out too much. And OpenAI launched their erotica version of ChatGPT, where if you're verified 18 plus, it can talk dirty to you, which I guess is fine, whatever. I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, but this is Xuan, and you could buy it in this form or with the entire body, which by the way is still, it's not like one of these big sex robots where the body is anatomically correct. It sits on a stand. It's mainly for show or whatever, but it has elf ears that are attached to this. But the key in it is that they are working really hard on humanizing its gaze and its attention to your mood by tracking your face muscles. It can, because that's how they teach it. The muscles operate following someone moving like this. So they do like a, facial scan of the person. Yeah. So this is Elf Schwan. So this is what she sits on. The head is the only moving part right now. And it's the purpose of it though, and what makes it kind of incredible is the head part, because this is what it's a practice of, what it's a development of. And it can, initially it was taught how to like scan your face and repeat what you're doing, so you could mimic it like a mirror, and it would mimic you like a mirror. And that's how it learned how to use the muscles in its face and that kind of stuff for what like just tell it you're angry and tell it you're happy and whatever, and then go, I look like this when I'm happy, and I look like this when I'm mad, and whatever. And it would repeat it, and then eventually it understands that you're feeling that way, and then the AI that's built into it, the chat bot that's in it, recognizes, gets those signals, says, okay, the person's mad, the person's happy, whatever, and it will react in a corresponding emotion. And it's got nice pins, nice set of getaway sticks, apparently. But
I heard somebody ask, why is it an elf? I mean, I would assume that you need to like move into fantasy world a little bit to disconnect it from the reality of human beings.
Right.
It's a little bit.
They're working on a male version as well. And actually, the male one works better because male faces are understood to be more stoic, so they don't go into the uncanny valley the way women's faces do. Women's faces have more micro movements than men's faces do, and so every woman, like the females always look like they've had too much Botox, whereas the men look, all right, I can see a guy that moves like that if he's just messing around or if whatever. So that's the head form that they're working on, and again, step by step, right? You can see the subtlety of what they're building.
These are exercises in like subtlety, basically what you're saying.
Yes.
Like how do you like control these systems in like very subtle ways? Like, so it's really the building blocks of something else, in my opinion. I mean, like I think it's pretty clear that like if you go to a drive up, if you go to like McDonald's and you go to the drive up, like, and they want to replace the person at the register with a robot, they're probably not going to do it with a robot like this. Like,
right.
They're going to do it with a kiosk.
Right. Or a figure 3.
Like, or a bin, So like to me, I've never really understood why like these people push towards, other than the novelty of it, like the superhuman looking robots, because it's a lot of work for very little reward, right? Like,
yes.
So
I've always thought for a long time
that
the only reason they're working that hard on them is, I think, for, at this point anyways, amusement parks and like immersion environments like that, where they can create like a walking Tony Stark that is in the Iron Man suit, and it pops up and it looks pretty much like Robert Downey Jr. and it has his voice, and they pay him a fee, but he doesn't have to be there every day, and you're like, oh my God, that's actually him, right?
You go to that and you're like entering a different reality.
Yes,
right? An amusement park is for amusement. It's not real life.
You've suspended your disbelief because of the environment.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but in a normal everyday world, like, and the idea of like a sex robot, like, I mean, people use toys all the time, physical things. They fall in love with chatbots, like,
right.
So like, there's nothing crazy about that. I mean, I think their stories are kind of like
overblown.
Oh, well, they're
No
just,
pun intended.
they're tittillating people, like, just like to look at the train wreck or something.
Sure.
Or they think it's a train wreck.
Yeah,
or they want to make fun of somebody else.
This is one of my favorite right-wing panicker about robots is Matt Walsh.
See this
yeah. Okay, so this is a different video from a year ago. He's been on this beat, no pun intended, for a long time. This is from the liberals are rushing to tell us sex robots are nothing to worry about. Well, I am worried. He's already where
He's worried that somebody's gonna he's just like
he's
gonna
found his wife's
fall off
shoebox.
the wagon one day, and he's like, I didn't know it was a robot.
Right, exactly. You're caught in like what am I was paying for? How was it? It was fine. Her nose was running though. Oh, she must be full.
God, jeez.
That's the old Gilbert Gottfried joke. Right. So I played most of this and we bailed out on it, but like his panic. Let's see.
Now they're here. Okay, well, turns out the people who warned about this problem in 2015 were right, and you were wrong. I mean, you started the article by telling us you were wrong about this precise topic. And now here you are making the same argument that was already wrong.
Look, there are no wrongs in Robo Love.
She argues
like
that
half the thing is him trying to like let you know that I was right 4 years ago when I said this. Like he's arguing about nothing. Like,
yes. Well,
and I remember did he mention he kind of read from it wasn't a liberal, it was a libertarian.
Libertarian, right? Yeah.
Which
is not a liberal.
Is he really that dumb? Like,
yeah.
At any rate.
Yeah. At that, I was
her
like,
points were like pretty clear. I mean, she was making sense.
And it was very libertarian. It's the same. I mean, it's the same thing where like, you know, if a 10-year-old wants to do heroin, let him. From Rand Paul. Because life is life. If people have bodily autonomy.
If you want to drive a motorcycle down the road without a helmet, do it. Like it's your life, right?
Yeah,
right. Right. So I mean, yeah, whatever. It's silly.
Yeah. So he's been on this beat, no pun intended, for quite some time, and I gotta say it's no closer than it was back when they wrote that article. I'm sorry to say, like the chatbots are one thing, but the robot part of this, I gotta say, is as slow rolled as anything else. Insofar as I know, maybe there's some breakthroughs. Obviously, this is not in my regular search that I do for even our show, but there is. I showed on Alibaba that I was at one point trying to check out smart robots, and I was like, okay, that should be fairly.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming from Asia that they try to make them very real.
Yes.
And that's just, I don't know, it's just their thing over
Right.
there. Like you don't see that as much over here.
Yeah. So I was trying to find there. Okay, there's this guy, the Unitree R1, which has these like beer can holding hands, and basically is just programmable with a remote. Like, and it's the one that does boxing and can do a handstand and that kind of stuff like that. It's impressive. It goes to the sort of gyroscopic Segway kind of tech in its chest piece.
Yeah,
right?
The mechanics of it are very impressive. Absolutely.
They're very impressive, but it is not autonomous at all. This thing runs programmed image, like it runs commands. It runs off. There's a guy standing over here with a remote control, like it's a video game, making it move. And the only reason it doesn't fall over is because the internal gyroscopic thing. Now, the obvious next step is remove the remote control and let an AI control a virtual version of that. You got a robot. It won't be inside the guy. And again, it will be, all those movies where we've seen that, like, if you blow up the big satellite, all the robots die, right? They all just fall down. That's where this tech, the next step in it is, right? For it to operate at that level.
Actually, the future, I don't think the future is there, though. I think the future is decentralized when it comes to all this stuff.
But these things won't be able to do that. The Chinese ones I'm being specific about, like the Unitree G1 and those, they are not building them with an internalized AI structure that's strong enough. Mainly because they don't have access to the NVIDIA chips, which would make it, like workable for them. They are increasing the tech around basically ripping off the Boston Dynamics robot. And this is the D1 Pro. And it has relative autonomy. Because you can give it, because its body base is so big compared to what it has to do. 4 legs are easier to balance yourself on than 2. So it doesn't require as much compute power. it still gets hot like the other one, but it's not nearly as much as like the bipedal robots. And so these are going to become incredible. And by the way, I don't think they look like robot dogs. I think they look like crickets. These are robot bugs, as far as I'm concerned. They're just gigantic, so that's why they call them dogs. But in looking for them, if you look under smart robots, a bunch of weird shit comes up. I'll just show you. This is, if you look under smart robots, you'll get massage chairs, because that's technically a robot. You'll get these kind of like these bipedal robots. You'll get like an entire house for $5,000 that you can just have sent to your home or whatever. Red light therapy, whatever. Here's one of these rolling robots, a rolling inspection robot. And then way up here, there you go. Here they are, because we talked about this on the show last time. These are basically just silicon sex dolls that have been around forever, but they're just putting and I was like, they're $579. The Harmony doll, which has like a moving jaw and all that kind of stuff. I did a whole routine about it in one of my stand-up specials. It was like 15 years ago, where its eyes move and its mouth, like it can talk, which just the jaw movement alone should be terrifying to anybody who wants to use it, I guess. But it was like $7,000 to $15,000. And these things are $579, but they're calling them, this is the funny part, anthropomorphic AI female service robot customizable. AGI artificial robot intelligence. This one's $120,000. That's obviously a scam, and you run off it. And then hot selling intelligent female companion robot AI interactive, or whatever these are. And they're $289. Okay, so why is that? Because it's got the only thing that makes it AI or interactive is it has a Bluetooth speaker in it that you hook up to your chatbot on your phone, and instead of talking through your phone to your chatbot, you talk through the body of the thing or whatever, which is just creepy and stupid and weird and all that kind of stuff. But meanwhile, they are increasingly, every time there's a big advance on robots over here, there's a big attempt to just basically glom onto that tech. All these service robots, the ones that roll around and serve you in restaurants, by the way, those all started in Europe. Those are all European designs. They were all over the Netherlands and that kind of stuff. The ones with the little trays on them that you now see at Denny's. And China just ripped them off and started making them. That was the essence of it. So, anyways,
probably they wanted to make them cheaper, and they went to China to have them made. And then once that happens, and they make a million of them and use them for something else.
So allegedly, this guy exists. This kind of robot here that's kind of competes with. Optimus or whatever. And my favorite part, and this is how I ended up looking this up, was if you look up Optimus, they sell, this is pretty funny, they sell Tesla Optimus bots for $3,000 on here. Like that.
They're probably mostly made there. And
transform. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I would argue, that they're absolutely fake. Like they're just like this will, whoever this is will just run off with your money. That's what's gonna happen. Yeah. You're gonna send them. They're not gonna send you a sample, like for cheap to try out for 30 days and then return if you have a problem. These things are cool though. This is different. You can buy these moving suits that you can actually walk around in. That's pretty badass. When you look up Optimus, it brings up a lot of Transformer stuff. But they're pretty much like $3,000 to $3,500, and they're obvious bullshit. They're obviously. It's a scam, right? And
and we're gonna start running into that in the sense that, like, if a Figure One or any of the bigger, like, more advanced brands that are making these things,
right,
they're gonna have some essence to them that either is easily duplicated or maybe portable somehow. Like a OS or an operating system that you could just load into another electromechanical device, essentially.
That's where we get to the open source robots, right?
Yeah, one of the things that is like going to happen along the way is, the idea that they're going to have to compete with themselves, and they're going to have to compete with the knockoffs that are going to be easily developed, and So I think that the value that they have to bring is either they have to control it, meaning
Right.
they have to like take full control of it. Like you hear stories, horror stories of like John Deere, like not letting farmers fix their own tractors, like
Right.
to that level, or they're going to have to make it so difficult to do or impossible to do, or subscription based or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as they get more and more down that road, the less people are going to want to buy them
Right.
because they don't, because they, so there's a balance there that's going to have to be made. And I'm not sure that that balance is possible. Like that's the interesting part of it.
Right. Well, that's where
Um,
everybody's saying the end of capitalism or the end of our natural economy. That's where they're getting
yeah.
that.
Well, let me bring this up now. I mean, when you brought up that figure, you had the figure one released. What was it, 2 weeks ago, or three or 4
Figure
weeks
three.
ago? With
Yeah.
figure three. Sorry,
Mhm.
where they were the thing that struck me as I thought about that a little more were the hands. Right.
Yes.
So I was thinking about, let's say it doesn't matter what the cost is. Like
Mhm.
if it's a $30,000 robot, people will buy that for $30,000.
Right.
People buy things of less value for $30,000 all
Right.
the time. Like
Right.
people buy jewelry for that much. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, so the thing I was thinking about here was, they show a lot of things that it's doing: cleaning the
Mhm.
kitchen, cooking, folding laundry. The thing I started to think about was what happens when all that's done. Like you can only clean the kitchen so much, and there's only so much to
For a
fold,
day.
right?
Right.
And what happens when you're not there, because you're not, typically a working family
Mhm.
is not at their house for a decent amount of time of the day.
Right.
So if this thing has the ability to do something, now all of a sudden think about what entrepreneurial people might start to think about doing with them. For instance,
Mhm.
like knitting stuff
Yeah.
to sell
Right.
on Etsy, or
Uh-huh.
I'm going to go like very basic here, right?
Sure.
Like start a business where you're selling any, go to Etsy and think about, what if I just had my figure three robot make that Etsy
Right.
thing while I was at work every day, right?
Mhm. Right.
I mean, hell, they could pack it and ship it too, right?
Yep.
And so to me, like the thing that's totally impossible to understand right now is that economy that I just started to describe, like very basically. But if you put 100,000 of these things out to like pretty smart people that are going to come up with cool
Yep.
things to do with it, it completely changes everything.
Yes.
It completely, like you don't necessarily have to even go to a retail store anymore. You could almost
Right.
function with stuff made locally by your neighbor's robots. I mean, think about that for a second.
Well, how about this? Gardening.
That could be completely bottom up, is my point.
Right.
And the
Gardening.
scary thing for companies is like, what do we do when that happens?
Mm-hmm.
What do we do when we're not the only game in town that makes your toothbrush and your toothpaste and your paper
Right.
towels and shit, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, and in the case of like gardening at home, that's one of the things, like if you're working all day, one of the reasons you don't have a garden is the idea that you'd need to weed it every day and do these things, and maybe it's too chilly when you get home at night after whatever. But if the robot could go out and pick some tomatoes for you and bring them into the house and put them in a bowl and make sure that that's always filled, and then know the cycle, and it'll know the weather. It could literally know that the weather's changing and just go and throw a tarp over some of the plants and then remove it the next day and stuff without you having to,
Right.
while you're doing it. Like there's a million things that if you had one of these super smart assistants just working nonstop, it could do. And
Yeah.
and entering into the physical
So
world, that's exactly what you're talking about. And so like if you had one of the, like I have a Cricut, one of those little like cutting things. It's and then I have, along with my like 3D printer and my my CNC, my little mini CNC that I have that I am terrible with. And one of these days you'll fly out, and when you're here in town, you'll run me through it because that's more your speed. But
yeah.
but I have all those things or whatever. If I had a robot that was able to just like, okay, you want a dozen of these things? Okay, well, I'll monitor the print, I'll set it and go, and then it will go over
Right.
and remove the plate and replace the other piece and do all that kind of like grunt work that has to be done while you're doing it. you could go away and do something, and when you come back, it would be done as if you had monitored it yourself, which is a big
Yeah.
aspect.
So now so I started to talk about the ownership of like what is the ownership? Like what are you subscribing to when you buy this thing? It seems logical to me that if I wanted, I'll use your garden idea, right? I want a garden outside, but this company, it's not able to do it. So there's going to be a point where people are going to train their robot to like do the thing. So essentially, like you're sort of crowdsourcing.
Yeah,
As a company that
if
makes the
anybody
robot,
anywhere,
you're essentially crowdsourcing.
if anybody anywhere teaches it how to use the laundry, like the washing machine and dryer that you have, all of them will know it.
Right. So who owns that?
Right.
Who owns the training? So it makes me think of the Matrix. Like, I need to learn how to fly a Bell helicopter.
Right.
Give me a second.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So like that's like a digital file, right?
Yeah.
I want my robot to go plant a English garden in my backyard that will work in Chicago, right? That will grow in Chicago well. Well, what do? I like go on Google. Do I have to buy it from the company that made Figure 3 Robot, or can I buy it from someone else who taught their robot how to?
You just gave me a great idea, and I know it's going to happen. I'm not sure when, but you download a Disney program for, let's say, Christmas, and and your whole family speaks Italian, right? Let's just do it's like it can translate all of it, whatever, and it plays music and sings little songs and performs like this Christmas thing as it hands out presents. It's the one handing, and you download it from Disney, and on its screen it plays, like Disney princess faces or something when it goes to each of the like whatever kid's favorite character is. Its face turns into Iron Man for 1 second and goes, "Hope you like it." Whatever. It sounds broken. Right, but I'm saying like companies, entertainment companies, could go, download our, our addition to this TV show. It'll come over and rattle your chair during the big jump scare. It'll come over and smack the back of your head.
Right. Yeah, I mean, an Alexa is a delivery mechanism for music.
Yep.
Or your iPhone is a delivery mechanism for like music, apps, like. You can buy stuff and have it delivered. Like we have, like these robots are a whole nother level of that. Like it's almost conceptual. I'm kind of freezing a little lip, so if I freeze too much, I need to tell me.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to describe here is while you're buying the thing that takes away something maybe. You're also adding this entire other thing. Like it's the App Store times a billion, because these are these are concepts. Like, what if you wanted to decorate your house a certain way? You could literally download or like buy the file to have the robot decorate your house.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
and
put
people
them in
could
the
sell
right
their
spot,
own, or
paint
the
the
company
wall.
could give, just like on OpenAI, there are like GPTs that you can have that you can either that people make for free or you can buy, or that only work when you use the paid version, or you can use in the free version.
Yeah. Somebody said, why do they make robots look so dumb? So one thing is that you don't want them to look human. A lot of them are going that direction, but you want to have it as
clearly a machine.
It's going to be you want it clearly to be a machine, because once you start going too human, people are going to get freaked out, right?
Yeah. Not the people who are going to fall in love with it, the people who are going to not use it because it creeps them out. It's good. They're not going to trust it because it's almost human. It's the uncanny valley. They're uncomfortable with the idea.
It's the uncanny valley. Exactly.
Right. But so, C-3PO, you're good with.
We talk about, you're good with C-3PO. And so that robot you have up now, it's kind of got a little C-3PO in them, right?
Yep.
The other thing is that there's like electromechanical things that make those things work, and those have a form, and they're going to look like they look because that's what they look like, right? Like a motor is a motor. It's a cylinder with a armature inside of it. and then there's all these like things, and then the third thing is it has to integrate with the world as it exists today.
Mm-hmm.
So we are humans, and our world is built for humans. So like the most generic version of a robot that interplays with humans is going to look human, because
Right.
that's just the way it is. If it was on little tank tracks, like how would it go upstairs, or
Yeah.
go over a crack in the road,
Yeah, it's
so
probably
I was just answering
R2D2,
the question on the
R2D2
website.
in the canyon problem. When you see him rolling through the
Yes,
canyon
exactly.
and you're like, how the what? Now, later on they show him kind of like rotating his legs so he can do a little bit of stabilization, but I don't buy it.
So like the future I see in this is very bottom up. It's
Yeah.
like going back into the old, like the arts and crafts movement, where things were made locally, things were made by
Right.
artisans, and
Yeah.
then not only is the robot capable of doing that, but it's quite possible and
Mhm.
probable, in my opinion, that you will seek out human-made things
Yes.
for the
They will
purpose of
have
it
more
being
value.
human.
Right. Yeah, they
They'll
will
have
have
more value, and the thing that makes something human is actually its imperfections, not its perfections, right?
right,
So
or its
like,
repeatability,
so
right? Its
yeah,
uniqueness, not its repeatability.
exactly, yeah. So like we're
Mhm.
talking about a completely different world when they start shipping that robot based on its capabilities, and also
Right.
based on, as I started to talk about, like who owns that stuff. So
Mhm.
the inflection point, if you're going to write your letter and sign it by 800 people, you should be focused, I think, on who owns the rights to what that robot is taught. As a, for instance, like this is
Mhm.
a variation of intellectual property that we have to deal
Yes.
with. Or like, what do we have to tell people we're doing? Like, if you have an agent, if you have the robot effectively mimic your voice, which you could do, right? You could like have, if the robot's sitting in the house as you're talking, you're like, hey, listen to me for the next 3 days and
Mhm.
mimic my voice. And AI is totally capable of doing that today.
Yep.
And then I'm going to have my robot call people and do stuff for me. Like
Right.
I said it the other day, like, what if I want the robot to walk? I live within walking distance to my kid's school.
Mhm.
I'll just have the robot go get my son, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
so what does the school do? Like, do they have rules about that, right? Like,
Right.
people are going to come up with some fucked up shit,
Yes, right.
and they're going to start doing it. Like, this sex stuff is nothing, guys.
Nothing.
Like, it's
Right.
nothing.
Agreed. Yeah, like that's like porn is responsible for a giant leap forward in almost every technology. But let's look at
Right.
cars for a second. Cars used to be simply like limited to the super rich, only people who could who could afford them, or people who could afford to work on them and get the parts. That's why I love Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's like that weird period of like he basically got an old car and fixed it all up, and then it was
Yeah.
magic, right? But there will be there was a period where only rich people got cars, and then what was next? Taxis. Can't afford a car? Well, you can afford it to get you across town. And so I bought a
Yeah.
car so you can use my car, right? That's where that came from. And that created an entire economy for a very long time, right?
Yeah.
And
And now there's Uber.
yes, right.
That's the next step of taxis, right?
That's exactly right. And so robots are going to be one of those things where like it seemingly only rich people can afford them at first, like the rappers who had the
But it's
Sony
not, though.
iBo. Right, I know, but I'm saying rich by in air quotes compared to what it used to be. Like a Sony iBo used to be $5,000. The little dog, remember that? And I ran into a dude at one of the where was it? It was at some party thing in the 90s, whatever, that I managed to sneak into. And there was this rapper, I didn't know who he was at the time or whatever, but he was doing real well. And he had a Sony robot dog with him all the time. And it was his pet. He played with it, he brought it. Apparently, he talked about how they always had to have a space for it when he was on tour, and he treated it like a real animal. And I was like, that's adorable. But at the same time, I was like, I get it. But that's going to increasingly be normal too, where you'll get like wealthy people will have these things as butlers and service people and service robots doing all the things you're talking about. like guarding their children. They'll have 5 of them that go get their kids, right?
And this is what I'm like, the expense of it, if you start to think about it completely differently, and that
Yeah.
is, what is it doing in my house?
Mm-hmm.
So it's cooking you dinner, it's replacing the possible. So this is interesting on the eliminating 10 jobs in my future. Like
Right.
I'm going to have it cook me dinner. So it eliminated me having a personal chef
that I
didn't
could never
hire a
afford.
person to be my person.
Well, that
Right.
you
I would have never done that anyway. Right.
Right.
So, but let's think about it a little. So 30, 40, even if it's $100,000, let's say that this robot was capable of actually remodeling your house. Let's say it could paint the walls.
Yes.
Let's say it could put up different drapes, like it could replace a sink in the bathroom if you did something, to do plumbing. Like if you thought about it from the value of what I don't have to spend in the future because this thing will do it for me, and you calculated that in, then maybe $50,000 isn't even that much, especially if you're probably going to get a loan for it and pay monthly, right?
Right.
Or
like you do with your phone. Like the phones have become so advanced. Most people pay off their phones as part of their phone bill.
Right.
And think how personal your relationship is with your phone.
Right. Totally. Yeah. It's on you all the time.
Yeah.
It's got all your information on it. It's got all your texts, all the silly things you say to your friends. Right? Like it's all there.
Yep.
So all I'm getting at is, or what I'm trying to drive at is, like, we don't know what we try to measure these things by what we know today, but the future of this thing is completely different.
Right.
And we're just scratching the surface of what that can be just by talking about it, right? The last 10, 15 minutes, right?
Yeah. And also I got to say, like, this, everywhere you look right now, there are these, increasingly, the function of these things is taking over situations where people just didn't have the ability before to have anything like this. So again, it's not about a job that was eliminated. It's that there are companies, people, factories, whatever, that never would have been able to afford, if they could find the person to hire and do the job at all, much less they're trustworthy, the pay is right, they could afford the expansion where they could add 5 security guards as opposed to 5 robot dogs that charge themselves when they're done and operate in a cycle and all that kind of stuff, like this guy. So this is a AI drone dog that can be run via control or AI, and it has a corresponding drone that goes with it. So this is for security at certain sites or whatever. Okay. This is becoming ubiquitous and normal just about everywhere. Everybody's jockeying for the police first because that's who's got the money. They've got state money to do it. But all these private security firms are priding themselves on, we come in, we got 9 guys who are fucking Blackwater, and we got 8 of these robot dogs, and it looks really cool, and people take us seriously, and we walk in there, we're the boss, right? And that's the sales point. They're now getting jobs they wouldn't have gotten because they don't have the personnel, because they can now afford these things. Like, they can, which are not expensive compared to, Jesus, anything else. The idea of a human being even doing it in the first place, you just can't. You would never be able to hire a person to do that at a certain size company. You'd just be out of luck.
So we're getting into like Freakonomics territory, right?
Yes.
Like, 2 things. One, somebody said in the chat, babyface spinster. Imagine how fat everyone's going to be from robots doing everything for us. GLP-1s are an interesting thing.
Yeah, interesting. Those things came along first, right?
Because, well, I'm being very serious about this, because if you think about the Freakonomics of GLP-1s, I think it was like Scott Galloway that I heard this from. Like the idea that if you just gave everybody a GLP-1 for free if they needed it, it would change everything. It would change the entire economy of grocery stores and junk food, and because they just wouldn't want it, and there wouldn't be a market anymore for it because GLP-1s, right? Now, I'm not saying that we should do it all. I'm just saying
Right.
You add one new thing to the mix and boom, there you have it. I had another thought, and this kind of goes along with that whole like environmental impact thing.
Right.
Let's say that you had a baby in the house
Mm-hmm.
and you decided I'm not going to do disposable diapers for the first, well, like
Mm-hmm.
you probably wouldn't want to have a, you know, a poopy like cloth diaper because it's
Yeah.
just, you don't want to touch it. But if
Yeah.
your robot did it, then you
Right.
could, in theory, have the robot do all the crappy work, no pun intended,
Right.
and never have to buy a disposable diaper. So think about that. If
Mm-hmm.
how many, you know, how have you just the environmental impact of your life if you had a baby or two or three and you never bought a disposable diaper?
Right.
And a robot could make that happen in your
Yeah.
house, a one-time purchase. See
Even
what
if
I'm
you
getting
did
at?
the
Like,
part with them and you just went, here, go take that and put it in the thing, you know, and you
yeah,
still want
exactly.
it because it's your child.
Exactly.
You still have
It's,
that in-
all I'm talking about is the cleaning part. Like,
yes, right.
here,
Yeah.
take it, and then it shows back up and it's perfectly clean, right?
Right. Yes. And brings you a fresh one like you
Um,
have, like a nanny. And again, this is a situation where, like, what's the cost of a nanny, a full-time nanny for somebody, even if it's just to clean and cook
Right.
so that you can spend all your time with your kid, you know, that all the secondary stuff.
Right.
What's the cost of that financially? For most people, it's just out of reach. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Right?
It's impossible. And if you bought a one-time $30,000 robot, it would totally offset that cost completely. It'd be cheaper.
Right.
If,
And
you
you're
know, from 0 to 5 years old, you had a nanny,
right.
and it was a robot instead of a person. Like,
Right.
it completely changes everything.
Yeah.
The economics of everything.
Yeah, and increasingly you're going to see, like, I keep checking all these guys online who are like looking at robots and going, hey, maybe I could make one of those. And half of it's already in a situation. This is where he decides to go in and try to create his own thing. And this guy just printed the parts, had all the servos, figured out how they work. The AI helped him do it. And then eventually, he teaches it adaptive walking. And then it puts wheels on it, starts printing parts. Like this, the availability, the potential of this, the democratizing of this kind of technology is extraordinary. And I think largely what really freaks out the people that we were talking about earlier, because they're worried about guys like this and guys like me messing
They're worried
around.
about the bottom up. Exactly. Yeah. They're worried about the fact that they lose the moat around their company. That's right. Exactly. That's totally right. What they're worried about.
And so they want it to grind to a halt so that they are the gatekeeper again. They want, I mean, because they'll be on the board that says what's okay and what's not okay. It's super, you know, it's super obvious the more you look at it.
But like the speed at which it's even happening, if you took away all the big companies that are spending God knows how much money on it and only let the open source crews do it,
mm-hmm.
you'd still, like, it's still going to happen by itself. Like, people will do it anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff that they're making, the stuff that people are making with no budget hardly is good enough to do a lot of things.
Right.
And it's only going to get better.
The Rob Glenn 99% rule. It's absolutely happening.
Right.
You know, and a lot of
somebody
this stuff
said we don't get to skip changing diapers. Yeah, I didn't mean the robot was going to change the diaper.
No.
I'm just trying to say, like,
do the
you can replace
hand washing,
like you
the
use
cloth
paper
diaper.
Towels.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people, I think, use paper towels because they just don't want to deal with washing rags a cloth all the time.
Right.
But if that wasn't a thing, if you could literally have a stack of actual cotton rags and you just threw it away every time you used it, and the robot came back 3 hours later and they were all clean, then you wouldn't need paper towels anymore.
Right.
Let's not get into toilet paper. You don't want that.
I don't know. Again, how long do you think?
How do we solve toilet paper now?
No, bidet. How long?
Like, you can put a bidet in a robot's finger.
Bidet is a thing, and it's going to happen in Japan. I'm calling it #bidet. I created it. Thank you very much. But that I guarantee there'll be a smart toilet in the future.
Well, they are smart toilets are already there, yeah. For
Right,
sure.
right. But I mean, like that,
Like
I guess it proves
if you
its
didn't
aim or
have
something.
indoor plumbing and a robot took
Right,
out
just
for you.
came over. I brought in the garden hose. Right, bend over and take it like a man.
Sorry.
Right. Yes.
These
Stand
are just
still.
exercises of like, if this change this one thing.
Yes.
If your like electric device no longer needed to plug into a wall outlet,
Mm-hmm.
like how would the world change, right?
Right.
Like, you just change one thing and you can go all kinds of crazy places with it. And a robot's like 10, 20, 30 times that. Like,
Right. So there was an article that came out about how like there's what they call the 100,000 year problem between chatbots and robots, in that
okay.
it would take 100,000 years. This is their equation. I think I gotta say, it's from UC Berkeley and the head there, and then their little think squad over there. But he goes, it'll
Okay.
take 100,000 years to read all the things that it would take a human being 100,000 years to read all the things that AI chatbots have read to, learn what they know. And it would take
Okay.
way more than that, 500,000 years or whatever for them to learn to walk and do stuff or whatever. Well, first of all, no, they're already happening. That's already there. Like the self-balancing part, the articulate, and he's like, it's the articulation of fingers that's the big deal. And I want to find this article because I think, hold on one second. I think it's on my iPad. I'm going to grab something real quick.
Yeah, I was thinking, I think you can still hear me. I was thinking about the thing that got me down this road was thinking about the idea that what makes humans different is that we have thumbs, right? So
Right.
like if the robot has a thumb, then yeah, like what is that? It's like an equal leap from what makes humans different from
Right.
animals. Like just that one, then boom. I see like I just Googled 100,000 year
Yeah.
problem and it's like talking.
Whoops, he froze again. Damn it. Come back. Come back, Rob. He'll pop out and pop back in. Yep, welcome back. Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back. Sorry about that.
Like it from my standpoint, everything keeps working, so I don't know that.
Yeah,
it
it's
does
very
that.
peculiar. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was looking up. I just Googled it, and it's actually the answer is talking about the cycle of ice ages. Does that line up with the Berkeley thing?
No, it's different.
Okay, it's different than that. Okay.
Right. So, maybe it was on my phone. Son of a bitch.
Somebody said, "I don't want to wait behind robots in the grocery store." Well, I think that's interesting because in theory, the robot wouldn't need to wait in line
Right.
at the grocery store. They
It
would
would
just
just
go
pick
pick
everything
it up
and scan with its
and
eyes
just
what
pick
it's picking
everything
up,
up.
and it would already know
Right.
what it was paying for and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hold on. I know where I can find it. Hold on. But the essence of the whole thing is that his idea is that it's going to take forever for them to articulate the fingers to be able to use them as well as humans do. The problem is,
Robots you're talking about?
yeah, and
Yeah.
I feel like he's talking out of his ass, and it's so odd. Let's see. Did I look in?
Yeah, we're just like, man, I'm frozen again. Oh, I see myself freezing a little bit. I don't know what's going on today.
Yeah.
We're like, we're not that many innovations away from a robotic. I mean, it's in the near future. They're right. Like,
Right.
you can do stuff with your hands that is pretty insane. Like like I deburr metal parts, and like I have to have fingers without gloves. I have to use my fingers without gloves on to like rub across the part, and I can feel
Right.
surface variations that
Right.
are tiny. Everybody can. So like there's things like that are a long way away, but maybe not. Like a few innovations, and then
Okay.
my thing is like,
Found it.
as
So,
technology can be as these hands become something else, just like 3D printed products become different. You just change the product to
Right.
be capable of being made by the robot hands, right? Like
Right.
just like you would any other thing. Just make it possible to be made by the technology you have.
Right. So this is
Go ahead. Sorry.
there were 2 new papers by UC Berkeley, and this will kind of help us like wrap up for the show today. And I want to thank Rob Glenn for being on with this, because
Yeah.
I know that this is a conversation we could have for ages. In 2 new papers, UC Berkeley roboticist Ken Goldberg explains why robots are not gaining real-world skills as quickly as AI chatbots are gaining language fluency. Okay. First of all, asshole, no one expects them to. Material world stuff versus internal computations are always slower. That's not the benchmark.
Yeah.
The benchmark is
I would also argue there's not enough of them.
right.
yet.
Well, and how the benchmark is how fast was it 10 years ago, and then 20 years ago, and then compared to that, and it's like lightning speed compared to the advances that have been made beforehand. And it's interesting that the fight between them is the old school guard who thinks that it's going to be all done with hand math and engineering, and the new guys who are using LLMs to speed ahead. And clearly there's a winner, and I will show you how. At the bottom of the article,
Is it written by AI? Oh,
no,
never mind.
it's not. The next article, this is berkeley.edu. This is their own paper. So this is a paper from their own professor. That's him. Who, I mean, he looks like a magician on a break. But yeah, he's like, they use all these exaggerated claims like, do you think robots will outshine human surgeons within the next 5 years? And like, that's not the marker either. Like the fact that they're like, it's factory jobs and shit like that, and walking your dog and things like that. That'll be the standard, and then they'll build towards something else. And do you agree with these claims? Recently, tech leaders like Elon Musk have made claims about the future of robots, such as, and you're like, okay, they've also, that's their best case scenario, and and then they also have their worst case scenario. He goes, no, I agree that robots are advancing quickly, but not that quickly. And his big thing is that they're struggling. What do you really struggle with? Big step is dexterity. This is his whole thing. This is his argument for why robots are not coming anytime soon. The big one is dexterity, the ability to manipulate objects. Things like being able to pick up a wine glass or change a light bulb. No robot can do that.
They're like videos of them doing it
right now. People are making robots in their fucking house that can do this, much less the really nice ones. What the fuck are you talking about? And then he goes, it's a paradox. We call it Morovic's paradox, because humans do this effortlessly, and so we think robots should be able to do it too. AI systems can play complex games like chess and go better than humans, so it's understandable people think, well, why can't they pick up a glass? It seems much easier than playing Go. But the fact is that picking up a glass requires that you have very good perception of where the glass is in space, move your fingertips. Yeah. Like, this is what
they're all working on.
Yes, and this is not professorial level knowledge on any level. This is just kind of like, this is like an asshole shooting the breeze at a cocktail party after seeing 2 YouTube videos and being a naysayer. But the best part about this, and he goes, in your paper you discuss what's called the 100,000-year data gap. To calculate the data gap, and he made this up, I looked at how much text data exists on the internet and calculated how long it would take a human to sit down and read it all. I found it would take about 100,000 years, which is, by the way, one of my favorite Kiss songs. If you haven't heard 100,000 years, you should. That's the amount of text used to train LLMs. We don't have anywhere near that amount of data to train robots. And 100,000 years is just the amount of text we have to train language models. We believe that training robots is much more complex, so we'll need much more data.
So if you put 100,000 robots out in the world, you're going to start collecting data really fucking fast.
Right, exactly.
And
so in a year, 100,000 robots will gather all that data in the real world. And there's already...
Yeah, and this is
Roombas and
well,
whatever.
this is actually one of my biggest, on my list of things to look for is when the company that makes the robot wants to just use its sales and users to actually build out this capability, who's responsible for all the glasses it breaks along the way?
Sure.
That should be what we're thinking about, right? Because it's going, like, a robot's going to break shit in your house on accident, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's going to cause harm to you maybe by falling on you. Right?
Right.
Who knows? Like, it could be anything.
I mean,
right?
Look, again, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum.
Yeah. So the thing to watch for, the thing to like deal with is how do you deal with those inevitable problems, which he's pointing out the problems, yeah, but he's totally wrong about the time it's going to take to learn it. I mean,
Right.
you just need more inputs, and they're going to start making these things at
Well, my favorite
thousands
part
a
of
day, right?
my
Like,
favorite part of this is that he made up this fucking number of 100,000 years, which I don't know where that comes from at all. Like he doesn't explain why.
well, I'm wondering. I typed in the 100,000 year problem, and it talks about the cycle of ice ages. So I wonder if there's something
in between
to
right.
do with that.
Yeah, you have 100,000 years until the next ice age, or you're gonna, you'll die before you finish reading Wikipedia. It's just stupid.
Yeah,
The part that stands out to me is this: is that at the bottom of the very same article, at the bottom of the same page, the next article they suggest you read is "Deep Learning helps robots grasp and move objects with ease." Literally at the bottom
you've
of the
already
fucking.
talked about this.
Oh, okay. So like we've covered this months ago. It's why I started building Dummy, my little robot arm I built from the kit.
You basically do it. You simulate it virtually, and that's how you gather the
Yeah.
data. Now that data still has to correlate. Like you're never going to get it perfect with simulation, but it'll get you like a lot of the way there, and then the real world gets you the rest of the way there.
Right. So these they talk about how you do it. This is and this is where they are currently. It's 13 seconds per cycle for to pick and place. When they were doing this test, the future it'll be 1,200 milliseconds for that, and the longest time is the placing motion, and partly it's because they move the thing around to test it at the same time they're doing it. The idea is like setting it in there so it doesn't break, because you might not be able, with the sensors they had on it, to be able to see it. Well, like the figure 3 we showed you has a camera in its fucking palm, so it can see where it's placing something in from the vantage point of that, so it doesn't drop it. And this thing is like just moving things from one thing to the other, rotating, not squashing it, dealing with its size or whatever. And this is stuff they're doing this. It literally says, UC Berkeley engineers have created new software that combines neural networks with motion planning software to give robots the speed and skill to assist in warehouse environments. And again, I guess nobody's going to sell a wine glass through Amazon. Is that the idea? Or are you going to have to get it from a glass blower?
With,
right.
With bubble wrap around it.
Like the purpose though is that like this is I don't know how old this is. Yeah, this is November 18th, 2020. That's the point. This article from this dude is from like August, just for like a month ago, 2 months ago, and now the next things they were already doing this shit in 2020 at his own lab.
At his own lab, right? Well, his own school. Maybe it's a different lab. Maybe he doesn't get along with the other professors.
That's right. Maybe he doesn't go into their room because they make it pinch his ass every time he walks by and he feels manipulated or whatever. But I got this is the go ahead.
If you look at just the figure 3 robot that we were looking at last week, like the hand manipulation on it was on their video, and then it's a video, of course, it's a sales thing.
Yeah.
But it was pretty damn good.
Right. This is
it's going to get better. It's just going to keep getting better. Sorry.
When you were talking about like who you're going to pay for stuff to to like whatever your robot does, the activity they do. There's a huge movement towards open source robotics. And all of like OpenAI's robotic stuff that they've been working on is all but a couple of things that the figure does is available on their GitHub page to download. Yeah. Like you can just make it. Yeah. And so everybody.
Therein lies. Yeah. The problem. I don't think it can be privatized because there's a army of people that want to not let it be privatized, and they'll just copy it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no IP on it. So, like part of the problem is that the IP laws are being stretched, and the other benefit is that the IP laws are being stretched. Like you can look at it as a positive and a negative, all at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
I'll let you go because we're at the last 5 minutes. But
Yeah.
I want to point out that the name of that robot I was just showing you is Pib because it's based on a Pi system,
Okay.
on a Raspberry Pi. So it's not, you don't
Yeah.
even need like the super top end version of this or whatever. But it's meant to be like a maker bot for kids' educational programs and that kind of stuff. And you could buy if you want to buy the component kit, all the servos and all that kind of stuff, you can buy those and then you 3D print the shell and the pieces. There's a manual. There's
Yeah.
like you can build on it yourself if you decide, oh, I want to add fingertip sensors, right? Yeah, you can also send them your old 3D printed parts if they don't work, and they will recycle them for you because
Recycle them.
we know the world
Nice.
of 3D printing is yeah rife with that shit. But like this is going to be increasingly normal too. Like I don't want one of Elon Musk's fucking robots in my house, right? I'd rather have an open
Yeah. And
source one that I can download that I'm in 100% control of. And there'll be people who go like,
yeah.
we
And
service open source robots, so we come in like your security system. You you program in your password. We don't listen to it. Only you can control this thing. You know. Yeah.
yeah. So in order to create a thing that people will actually buy, they're going to run up against these problems like instantly, right? Like
Yes.
somebody's going to buy something and they're going to want to do something with it. It won't do it, or
Mm-hmm.
they'll find out that there's caveats to it,
You have to pay
or they
for
don't
it,
own it.
or
And
yeah.
then all of a sudden, like, like, I mean, the speed at which they'll move on is equal to the speed at which it's being
Mm-hmm.
developed, right? Like, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so the it's all gonna, like, it's gonna have to work itself out, and
Yep.
really the only choice is to keep moving forward and like pay attention along the way. And I think that this is like a market driven problem. The
Yeah.
market will like cause it to be what it's gonna the market will control it,
Right.
because we are the market, like people buying it and using it and
Mm-hmm.
wanting it to do something and wanting ownership of what it makes and all those other things, right? Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is.
which is why, like, the
Mm-hmm.
part of AI, like I said this a couple weeks ago, like AI is such a broad term,
Mm-hmm.
but if you think about it in terms of robots, it gets physical right away.
Right.
And I think that I like that you talk about it, because it's easier to contemplate physical problems as opposed to these, more like digital, like white, like I was saying before, like white collar jobs. Like what
Right.
is a white collar job? Like what are people doing every day at the office? Like it's hard to put for normal, like average everyday people to put their finger on those things.
Right.
And honestly, like with the rhetoric the way it is now, if you learned that somebody's job was to like answer the phone, you'd be like, well, why does it matter if the phone answerer loses their job, right? Like people are
Right.
so dismissive of other people these days. But when
Right.
you think about it as robots, it's a lot easier to like to think about what they're doing every day, because they're mimicking you, like the things
Yes.
you do every day, right?
I agree, and I think there's a point where like the availability of it is not going to be out of reach for even like hobbyists in the same way that like I
Yeah,
mean
it's already not. It's already not. Yeah.
right, and that's going to all technology is deflationary. That's my axiom, and yours is the 99% rule, which is absolutely true. That right
Yeah.
now these robots are damn close to doing anything that 99% of the users will need it to do. Like the figure with Helix
Or
in it.
will
Right.
want it to do initially. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
then what's going to happen is they're going to be like, well, I'd really love it if it did this thing, and it won't do it. And then they'll be
That's
like, why
right.
can't it do that? And then they'll figure out how to do it.
That's
Right?
right.
Like we don't know what those things are until that first thing happens, but we're going to find out real fast.
Right. Yeah, it's crucial. So we will figure out it. We'll watch it roll out. But this idea that that 800 people signing a letter, and including Glenn Beck, which undermines the entire thing, and Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, are like they're going to tell the rest of us like, hold off. These tools are for us is so fucking lame. And then this big fear that there's gonna. I think you're right. Really, I think the one thing that we probably landed on idea-wise, I give you 100% credit for, which is the idea that what they fear is bottom up. That there's too much bottom up
Yeah.
available in this situation. That it's
Yeah,
just too easy for
it's
average nudniks like myself to take advantage of this.
yeah, and I would argue that's why the stories about AI are so massive, because they're trying to like lock in what they think is their control point, meaning like normal people can't build a
Right.
100,000 GPU server farm, right? Like that's
Right.
just ridiculous. And no normal companies can't like build their factory and also a nuclear power plant next to it, right?
Right. Right. Right.
So so because that's what DeepSeek, that's what the story of DeepSeek did, is it sort of cut the bottom of the ladder off. It was like, hey, by the way,
Right.
you did all this work, and now all we're going to do is copy it, and in a month or 3 months or whatever, we'll be close enough
Yeah.
that most people don't know the difference between what's on our website and what's on your website, right? Like, and it's funny to me that it all still comes out as a browser, the
Right.
browser that's been around since 1994,
Exactly.
like, or five,
Right.
whatever the first browser
Right.
was. Um, and so that's why they're racing towards, we need this, we need the chips, we need the stuff, like we've got to get it, and you need to
Yes.
pay for it, because
Mhm.
like if you don't, then we're behind. And it's like, well, not really. Like,
Right. Yeah. And at this point too, that even with the browser that came out, like Gemini runs it concurrently in Chrome if you turn it on right now. Anyways, like they already have that.
yeah,
Microsoft
yeah,
is releasing its own like browser, whatever. They're all doing it, and you could argue that like Safari has your entire desktop has had Siri built into it, for better or worse, that has been along the whole time, and they're just going to add the new Apple AI as an extension on Safari probably by Christmas. It's just how stuff's going to operate. And again, it's
yeah,
just about the simplicity. Again, AI is the new UI. That's all. It's a user interface for getting what you want. And just like when you type into Google search, you don't always get exactly what you want on the first search, and it takes you a little while to get there. The same thing is true when you're talking to it. It's just a different way of interacting. So, anyways, you're awesome. Thanks for sticking around. Great conversation as always.
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I appreciate people coming in. I know this show is the densest and hardest to interpret of all the shows that I do during the week, but I feel like it's crucial just for people to be aware of these things, because it's genuinely all around us. And what's also around us is the stupidest people ever are running things right now in an era where the amount of intellect it takes to even comprehend these things poorly outpaces most humans. And so
Yeah.
I feel like you and I are, it's necessary. We're necessary, my friend. So thank you for joining me and helping everybody walk through this and stuff. And again, I encourage everybody to play with these things, because they're being trained on your activity, and I'd rather have good people playing with them than not. So give it a try, mess around, and I'm gonna show my robot video. I think I'm pretty close to being able to show it doing something other than the demo that comes with it, in a little bit. So
Awesome.
yeah. But I've also
Awesome.
got
Well,
a
great to
I've
see
also
you,
got
Hal.
a
Great to see
I've
everybody in
also
the
got to
chat.
3D print
Oh,
a
sorry.
shell for it, because it's green and you can't see it on the when it's 3D printed.
Oh,
Like, you
well,
can't-
there's that problem.
Yeah. The frame I got was green because it looked cool, and I picked the metal version of that one to build it from, and then I was like, fuck. But anyways, you're awesome. I will
It's
talk to you
always
later.
the little things that get you.
It so is. All right. Thank you so much, brother. I'll talk
All
to
right,
you
bye,
later.
everybody. Have a
All
good
right.
weekend. See
All
you,
right.
Hal.
Cheers. There he goes. Ladies and gentlemen, the great and powerful Rob Glenn. And appreciate you guys. I will see you guys this afternoon for the regular show. Trimanus. It's awesome. Okay. Oh, I think, yes, we talked about this once before. I think I did. Yeah, there it is. Manus AI. There it is. Yeah, it's I'm fairly certain that's one of the ones I've been playing with. I'm planning on downloading into my my little arm. So yeah, we'll see. Make sure it doesn't like break stuff. Once it can string a guitar, I'll be so jacked. Although I like doing that because it makes, it's just relaxing. It's like Gandhi spun thread. I string guitars. It's just what you do. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit that like, share the show, etc., etc., etc. And I will see you guys this afternoon at our regular time. Much love, and don't let the naysayers scare you. If Glenn Beck is scared, it's probably a good thing. Just telling you. But of course, Internet of Things, Maximum Overdrive, the replicants in Blade Runner, Ghost in the Shell, who knows?
The fridge hums low, the lights flicker bright. Microwave's got a mind tonight. The thermostat whispers in the dark. Charging port spark like a steel heart. The toaster's on, the kettle screams, the coffee maker's brewing skin. Maximum overdrive. They've come alive. Wires twist, machines won't thrive. Circuit snap, we won't survive. It's the rise of the high maximum overdrive. Vacuum's got vengeance in its roar. TV's no longer for keeping score. The washing machine's in a spin of rage. Blender sharp teeth escape the cage. The oven plots, the curtain shake. Every gadget wide.